Welcome to yet another episode of In Conversation with Tibet TV. The Middle Way Policy, or Umelam, is an approach adopted by the Central Tibetan Administration to seek a peaceful resolution to the long-standing Sino-Tibet conflict. The policy reflects a pragmatic solution that aims for mutual benefit, peace, and coexistence through dialogue, emphasizing Tibet's self-governance on key internal matters without challenging China's national unity. Today, we are joined by Additional Secretary Tenzin Lekshay, the official spokesperson for the Central Tibetan Administration, to shed light on how the middle way approach continues to shape CTA's diplomatic engagements and aspirations for a peaceful and just resolution for the Tibetan people. Welcome to the program, Lekshay.
Thank you.
Lekshay, could you tell us what exactly is the middle way approach policy, and how is it more beneficial than any other approach when it comes to resolving Sino-Tibet conflict?
So, without going into the long history of the middle way policy, the basic understanding and the thoughts behind the middle way policy is that you are not the only winner. Your counterpart should also win. So, these are win-win solutions. So, which was practically His Holiness' aspirations of universal responsibilities, compassion, love and kindness, and the friendship, right? So therefore, when His Holiness speaks about all this universal responsibility, love and compassions, and hereby, when we ask for Tibetan resolutions, we should not be the only winner. So therefore, the middle way policy is about, there are two extremes. Right. So within these two extremes, we should be in the middle. That is the genuine autonomy for the Tibetan people, right? So this is what we are aspiring for. So when you look at the two extremes, the one extreme is we are not seeking independence, right? Though we know that historically Tibet was independent. So there is no denial in the fact that Tibet was independent state, right, historically, right? But we are not seeking independence. So the other extreme, what we are talking about is, since the Chinese occupation of Tibet, and whatever policies they have implemented inside Tibet, right, we are not happy and we are not aligned to that. So there is this two extreme. So thereby now what we aspire for is for the future. Right, for fulfilling the Tibetan people's aspirations to preserve their own identity, language, culture, ecology and all. So therefore, in the middle, what we aspire for is the genuine autonomy for the Tibetan people.
Right. So speaking of history, Lekshay, doesn't this in any way loosen Tibet's grip on its historically independent status?
No, not at all. That's what, when you look at Sejong Pebotsil's engagement all over the world, right, Sejong said many times, and that while proving that Tibet was historically independent, it gives a kind of a boost to the middle way policy, because we know by the fact that Tibet was independent. So we are not, though we know that Tibet was independent, we are not seeking separations from China. So that's what the ball is on the Chinese court, right? So, but China now, the most important thing which we need to understand is that in this middle way policy, right, China has something to look into, right? It is not just what they can play around, right? Which it doesn't go like that. So what we are asking for a genuine autonomy for the Tibetan people within the framework of the Chinese constitution. So this is a very important component in the middle way policy, right? So China has to look into their own policies, their own laws, their own constitutions, whereby there are lots of provisions to preserve the identity, language, culture and everything. So therefore, what we are asking for is a genuine autonomy, not the greater autonomy that China has misinterpreted.
Right. So, there is a widespread assumption that the policy was largely formulated by Kundin or His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So, can you tell us how and when was this policy, this approach as in policy formulated?
In 1970s, when you look at the documents, right, when 1970s, His Holiness has discussed with many people among the Tibetan leaderships and the foreigners, right, about how we should proceed, how we should move forward, right, with the Tibetan freedom struggle. So thereby His Holiness, while conversing with lots of people, while talking with lots of people, His Holiness got this idea of this middle way, right, which does not seek separations, but we should get what we aspire for, right. So there was these thoughts in between, and then in 1979, when Deng Xiaoping told Kong Sao Chimo that accept independence, we can talk.
Right.
So there, in 1979 itself, His Holiness said that this is the moment that we should get to talk with China, to negotiate with China on the resolution of the Tibetan conflict, Sino-Tibetan conflict. So from 1979, the dialogue started, right? But it stopped in 1984, right, with the 4 fact-finding delegations, and then we understand more about what's really happening inside Tibet. All the destructions of the cultures, the schools, educations, all. So we were more than ever being comply with the aspirations of Tibetan people, because they were the one who are the masters. We are the one who are the voice of those voiceless Tibetans. So then we were pushing hard for China to fulfill the aspirations of Tibetan people. But somehow China believes that they are doing what they could to make, because they had this kind of notion of this liberation. They said that Tibet was liberated, Tibet was happy, but they were in their own world by believing that Tibet was happy. But in actual way, Tibet was not happy. So therefore, we have been more assertive in our own ways to talk about Tibet issues, the sentiments of Tibetan people. So thereby, the dialogue stopped. And then we had the opinion polls, right? We have a public engagement, lots of public engagements in between, whereby we are saying that this middle way policy is not just about His Holiness initiative, but the engagements of the Tibetan people, not just in diaspora, in exile, but also the suggestions and recommendations coming from Tibet. So coming all together, this package, the middle way policy, is a people's policy, right, which was adopted later in 1997 by the People's Tibetan Parliament in exile, right, and from then onwards it became a policy of the Central Tibetan Administrations. So while looking into all these things, right, because in 80s, 90s, there was a moment that we got lots of international supports. So now the question is, why did we get international support? Because every country whoever made relations with China, dialogue with China, had one conditions to fulfill, that is one China policy. Right? But for us, we are not seeking independence, but rather we are asking for the genuine autonomy. That gives a kind of a leverage for us to get international supports. Right? So since then, the momentum has came in the international communities, whereby the support movement has been strong enough to support and show solidarity for the Tibetan cause.
Right. So, Lekshay, you spoke of the Tibet's official dialogue with Chinese government, but since 2010, these dialogues have come to a halt. So, if this continues and we see no progress, what other alternative strategies or modifications to the approach might CTA consider?
See, we are consistently working on this middle way policy, even though there's a deadlock. Right. In 1979 to 1984, we had the dialogue, and after that, we don't have a dialogue. But still, then people had give a confidence in the resolution of the Tibetans through the middle way. And then again, we have adopted the middle way policies as more rigorously. And then 2002. The negotiation has restarted, right? The dialogue has restarted, which was stopped in 2010. So that doesn't mean that, right, we should just jump over to something else, because it is not our fault by putting or consistently working on the middle way. It is China's problem, not our problem. So I think if there is a change which needs to be adopted, it is not on our side, but on the China's side. China should be more conducive to look into what they can give to the Tibetan people, right? By knowing the fact that Tibet will not seek independence. We simply want the genuine autonomy for the Tibetan people within the framework of Chinese constitutions. So what we need to understand right now is we are not just asking something which China cannot provide. There is a provision in the Chinese constitution. Thereby, we demand those provisions to serve the Tibetan identity, Tibetan culture, Tibetan traditions, Tibetan ecology. But this is more important, not just for the Tibetans, not just for China, but for the global community.
Right. So looking at China's internal politics right now, are there any chances of them giving into our demands?
So we don't know, because the world right now is changing so drastically. But we don't know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. Right now we are seeing lots of things happening, which is quite disturbing also. Right. So therefore, in a political, I would say in the resolutions, there isn't anybody who can say that tomorrow it'll happen. We have to wait. We have to make sure that we have the capacity to work on, to accomplish our mission for the restoring freedom of the Tibetan people. So therefore, China is changing, obviously, because the middle way policy, when it was adopted, it looked into the three conditions. That is, we look into the international geopolitical conditions. We look into China's conditions. We look into the condition inside Tibet. When we look into these three conditions, these three backgrounds, all three are changing. Right. The international geopolitical scenario is changing drastically. China is also drastically changing. And Tibet, as of now, is more than ever critical. Right. So when three things are changing, then obviously the middle way policy has to change in a manner which should be timely to fulfill the aspirations of Tibetan people. Right. But that doesn't mean that middle way policy will be changed to something else. Right. It will be a middle way policy. But the components will obviously change. The timings move forward and we have to move forward. Thereby we need the capacity.
So as you said, the geopolitical scenario is rapidly shifting. So can you talk about how relevant is the middle way approach policy in today's day and age? Is it as relevant as it was when it was formulated?
It is more than ever relevant now. Earlier we just look into the Tibetan issue alone, right? We focus only on Tibetan issues and we thought that, okay, Tibetan issues should be resolved, right? That through the middle way. Now, when you look at the middle way, it's about, it's going away from the international traditions of dialogue. The international tradition of dialogue is all about you win and other lose. In this polarized world, it is very risky. It is very dangerous because it can culminate into more problems. So the middle way policy, the ethos is, it is not just I win, but the other has to win. So it goes against the normal tradition of the dialogue. It gives more space for the other to be benefited. Right. So this is more, I would say that it is more sustainable in the future because it is based on compassions. So therefore, I think it is a very important, right. It's not just for the Tibetan people, but this middle way policy, normally when I talk to people, I told them that wherever there's a conflict states, right, this could be the model for resolving the conflict in the world. It is not just for the Tibetan, but any other conflicts in the world. This middle way policy could be the model to practice. So I think it is more than ever relevant in this world.
Right. So bringing this communication within our society, how does the Central Tibetan Administration envision the role of global Tibetan diaspora in advancing or supporting the middle way approach policy?
See, it is our paramount duty to talk about, to educate the people, right, about our own policy. Because what we exist right now is we are the voice of those Tibetans inside Tibet who have been crushed, right, who have been marginalized, who have been oppressed. So we are here, the voice of those people. So we are not alone. This Central Tibet Administration, right, is minded to all the Tibetans in exile.
Right.
Right. We have a democratic government. Right. So there is this accountability also. Right. So what we look into is we try to educate more and more Tibetans about the middle way policy, so that the Tibetans, as I said before, have the capacity to work on to resolve the conflict. Right. If we don't have the capacity, even if we get the opportunity, because the world changes, you might get opportunity tomorrow, day after tomorrow, or a year after, or 2 years after, maybe, right? So whenever we get these opportunities, we should be firmly in our stand and have the capacity on our own. So therefore, I think if we don't have the capacity, how will we be able to work on? So therefore, educating, awareness building exercises is very important for the CTA to let people understand whether they have different ideology. Irrespective of different ideologies, it is very important for the people to understand what this middle way policy aspires for. Now, let me just, this is the book on the introduction of middle way. So the most important thing to me when I looked into the middle policy is that there's an introduction on the first page. And if I go into the first paragraph, that itself shows that how relevant it is and how important this document is and this policy is. Right. So when we look at the background, on the first page of the first paragraph, it says that the middle way policy is a mutually beneficial policy that is based on the principle of justice, compassion, non-violence, friendship, and in the spirit of reconciliation. Not just for the sake of Tibetans. It says reconciliation for the well-being of entire humanity. So we are talking about the well-being of entire humanity. So that means we are responsible citizen of this global community. We are not just talking about Tibetan. We are talking about for the well-being of the entire humanity. So this, I think, the middle way policy is very important, not just for the Tibetans, but for the global community to understand.
Right. So Lekshay, last but not the least, you and your team recently, in December of 2025, went on an awareness tour regarding middle way approach policy, largely covering South India, both reaching out to both monastics and Tibetan communities. Could you tell us how did that go? How interested and informed are the Tibetan people?
See, even though the middle way policy has been introduced for so long, people are still not being aware, because I think people are still confused. So therefore, it is very important for us to educate, to go down to the people, to talk about this middle way policy, so that they can understand, they can do research, they can absorb themselves about the integrity of this policy, how important this is. At least they should be aware. And they should then make some progress in their own ways to contribute for the freedom struggle, for the movement. Right. So this is not just about Umelam, Rangzen and all these things. It is about resolving the Sino-Tibetan conflict. We all want that conflict to be resolved as soon as possible. But we are dependable to China. Right. So therefore, when it is all that we aspire for, it is very important for us to understand what is the Central Tibetan Administration's policy. For so long, we had the middle way policy, and still it is very important for us to go to different communities, to different areas, to talk about this middle way policy, so that people can read about, people can learn about, people can also understand the values that were being adopted in this document.
Right. So Lekshay, with this, we've come to the end of our discussion. Thank you so much for shedding light on middle way approach policy and its significance, especially in today's day and age.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of In Conversation with Tibet TV. I will see you next time.